Shocker! I reckon that came as a bit of a shocker, eh, Bug?
Shocker is without a doubt one of Spider-Man's most notable villains. His costume, so iconic, and he's actually been adapted a lot. He's been in the games, he's been in multiple shows, he's been on the big screen. He's really shown up a ton, but none of these are like the comic book Shocker. You know, the goofy, lovable, down on his luck villain who just can't seem to get it right. Yeah, that's actually never been adapted as a characterization for this character, and it doesn't really make any sense to me. Spider-Man doesn't have many villains that really fill that role. He's got joke villains, sure, but these guys are like literal jokes. Big wheel, big wheel, big wheel. Come on. The wall, the wall, the wall. What kind of names are these?
Calling yourself the Shocker. I'm the Shocker. I shock people. What is this, pro wrestling?
Hey, Shocker's a much better name than The Wall. Come on, like give some credit, guys. Come on. Let's talk about the source material first and how Shocker actually is in 616. And then we can look at his many adaptations and hopefully we can come to a conclusion as to why nobody adapts this style of the Shocker. In 616, Shocker is actually pretty decently fleshed out as a character. Shocker actually first appeared in Spider-Man 46, Amazing Spider-Man 46, in 1967. Damn! The Shocker of the 60s, however, isn't the Shocker we all know today in the comic book world. It wasn't for a while that Shocker would actually be known as like this type of goofball character. At first, Shocker was actually just a menace. He was kind of a threat to Spider-Man, and he actually beat Spider-Man in their first bout pretty much with ease. Spider-Man saw him as a serious threat back in the day. He was an actual problem, and rightfully so. Shocker was written to have a totally different mentality back in the day, and he had a much stronger power set, it felt like. During his first appearance, Shocker doesn't really seem down on his luck at all. He was in jail and he was in prison for theft, okay? And then while he was there, he was granted like the ability to make tools and stuff because he's an engineer and they thought he might help them. But all he did was spend all day long thinking about better ways to steal stuff and how to open safes easier. So he started developing the vibration tech that we all know of today. And yeah, Shocker breaks out of jail using the vibration tech, makes this quilt suit, this blanket-like suit that like helps keep out the vibrations. And yeah, this is how he is. Not really down on his luck. This guy's kind of like a genius. Well, Shocker tries to use his vibration tech to try and rob a bank, and this is when Spider-Man first jumps in, right? Shocker puts the hands on Spider-Man and then gets out of there. Spider-Man and Shocker would fight one more time by the book's end, and Spider-Man would beat the Shocker, but the Shocker was really putting hands on this dude again. The Shocker was a problem, apparently, back in the day. Whereas nowadays, he really only uses gauntlets to shoot, like, vibrational blasts. Back then, he was using vibrations to reduce the physical impact of punches that were hitting him. So, like, if somebody was going to punch him, he would vibrate, so it would be weaker. And if he was going to punch somebody, he would vibrate to make his punches stronger. It's actually like an amplification thing. It was pretty cool. I can't believe we don't see more of this. Shocker damn near killed Spider-Man again in Amazing Spider-Man 151, when Shocker was threatening to black out all of New York City if he wasn't paid a ransom. Yeah, he held up all of New York City for a ransom. Shocker, the bumbling fool. Back in the day, Shocker was just not the bumbling fool. He was a totally different character, guys. There's a time in the 1990 Spider-Man comic when Spider-Man was literally at the mercy of the Shocker. Shocker was standing over him as Spider-Man was just like on the edge of a building about to pass out because he was like drugged up and dazed. And Shocker's like, what the hell are you doing here? And then Spider-Man's really just like has nothing to say, nothing really to do because man's really going through it right now. And Shocker could kill him, but Shocker's like, you know, I've been thinking about how I could kill you over the years, and this is just never how I envisioned it. But you could always live with thinking about the fact that I let you live, which is pretty cool. Very like more grittier than he is nowadays. In the current era Shocker, he's like a totally different vibe and personality. He's way goofier, way less proficient as a villain. He's the villain who's just like expected to lose. Like if you're a good guy and you lose to Shocker, it's a bad day. He's even shocked when he wins. Like when he beat Venom in 2016, the dude truly couldn't believe it. He's taken so many L's over the years, he couldn't fathom he got back into the win column. You really see a lot of this side of the character in Superior Foes of Spider-Man. This story is hilarious. You got all of these villains who constantly work against Spider-Man. They're like lower level villains. And you just get to follow them around. See why they never really get anything right. See all their issues and like what's wrong with these guys. And I just loved this story. I strongly recommend it to anybody who wants to read more Spider-Man and get to know the Shocker especially, because you really get to see more about his character in this run. You see him bungling up operations and missions, trying to earn the respect of others, but he keeps coming up short constantly. It's an incredible read. It gives Shocker a more relatable aspect. Shocker's down on his luck, and he's a loser, and he's goofy, and everyone laughs at him. But if that's all there is, that's all there is, right? Superior Foes, however, gives you Shocker's perspective and how it affects him mentally. Man started out as a winner and has lost so much over the years he quite literally forgot how to win. Personally, I prefer his recent characterization. Yeah, he's not a badass as he used to be, but Spider-Man has so many badass villains. Does he really need another badass villain? I think it's much better we have a villain that we really feel bad for. Spider-Man doesn't have many villains like that. This is a niche that's not filled in Spider-Man's rogue gallery, and I'm glad the Shocker over the years has grown into this character and fills this void now. Adaptations, adaptations, adaptations. Shocker has a plethora of adaptations. Let's look at his cartoon adaptations first, okay? Shocker actually first gets adapted in the Spider-Man Amazing Friends cartoon, and I kind of just love this adaptation. I feel like I don't often get to talk about this adaptation enough, this show as a whole, but it's super fun. You got Spider-Man, Iceman, Firestar, I guess. Iceman and Firestar are just like backing up Spider-Man. Spider-Man is still the big deal, and it's really cool. I really like this show. But the Shocker in this show is really cool. He's got like interesting new powers where like he can like phase out of Spider-Man's webs for some reason, and he can like create a vibrational force field around him. He's tough. He was like giving the team like a trouble by himself, a team of 3 people, and he's stomping on them by himself. Like, the Shocker is something in the show. He was doing his thing. We gotta give his credit. Even though it's a long time ago, it's old, the animations ain't the greatest, I still gotta give it some credit. It was a lot of fun. Shocker in the show, he's pretty serious. The Shocker doesn't get much characterization either than being just a crook who works for Kingpin on the occasion. His suit does look fire in the show, though, so you gotta give credit where credit's due. But the man is just kind of bland. He's not really proficient as a fighter, nor is he fun and down on his luck. He's really just only known because of that iconic suit and this immaculate scene I don't think any of us can ever forget.
Get back here, Shocker! Shocker! You can't escape me! I'll chase you to the ends of the earth!
Spectacular Spider-Man has a different character entirely playing the Shocker. Man goes by Montana, he's a bit of a cowboy, southern accent, lots of cowboy references. This is not Herman Schultz at all. But it does at least resemble and adapt the early Shocker. This dude is a problem for Spider-Man. Like at every turn, he's got a rebuttal and another move ready whenever Spider-Man makes his move. Gotta appreciate the fact that they used a different character, but still portrayed the character how he was once shown. Pretty accurately too, if I may say so. Ultimate Spider-Man Shocker isn't really fleshed out at all. He's actually super bland as well outside of his costume. He's just boring. Spider-Man mentions he's not the brightest villain, and that's kind of like true. He's really not the brightest villain, but he's also like a scientist genius in the comics, so it's also not entirely true. I don't know. They just don't like really give him any characterization in the show. They don't even show him being dumb. He actually is kind of working Spider-Man and Spider-Man's friends after Spider-Man calls him dumb. It's just weird. He really hardly shows up. The Shocker in the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon is just whatever. In the 2017 cartoon, Shocker doesn't even don the costume and he goes to school with Peter. I personally think this is the worst Shocker. The worst of the worst. Honestly, this show adapting so much of Spider-Man's story and shoving it all into a high school setting just bothers me. It just bothers me so much. Spider-Man was really hardly ever in high school in the comics. Yet so many cartoons make it a point to have him in high school. And then this cartoon goes even further to show like all the villains are in school with him. It's like, can we stop? Please relax. I just don't like this show as an adaptation, man. It's not for me. That's all Shocker's cartoon appearances. Shocker does appear in the Insomniac Spider-Man game, and he's kind of like a super fun boss fight. His character is sadly not super fleshed out, and he gets killed off screen in Spider-Man number 2 by Kraven. Costume's like whatever, but outside of that, he's great. God, do I miss chasing villains down in Spider-Man games. I'm not 100% sure where it started, but I remember racing and chasing down the Human Torch, chasing down Beetle, and now I'm chasing down the Shocker. This stuff's awesome. You do get the sense that the character is kind of down on his luck and not really the brightest tool in the shed. Spider-Man calls him dumb again, but he also does say he wants to talk science with him when he gets back in jail. So, like, he definitely has that smart man of science aspect to him as well from the comics. You don't really get the sense that he's, like, trying to just rob banks and get rich anymore, though. You get the sense that he's kind of turning his life around and he's trying to, you know, solve his actual problems. For me, at least, when I was playing the game, I got the sense that he was already done being the Shocker, but because of Mr. Negative, and he's kind of threatened into becoming the Shocker again, he dons the costume again. Based on the dialogue, one derives that Shocker is on parole, doesn't want to do this, and he's going to disappear when all of this is over. That's a man who doesn't want to commit crimes anymore, but was dragged back into the world as he tried to leave. Damn, If only we got more from this character. This could have been a great adaptation if he wasn't, dead. Lastly, the Shocker's MCU appearance. God, I hope this isn't his last appearance in the MCU. He's portrayed by the evil Dave Chappelle. The Shocker never even dons the costume. He hardly does anything at all. Spider-Man kind of cleans him up in the fairy fight with ease. And yeah, Shocker was giving Spider-Man hands outside of the homecoming dance, but he surprised Spider-Man, and Spider-Man never really got his footing back. The moment Spider-Man got his footing back, he literally won the fight, instantly. This Shocker got zero characterization. Just goon who works for the big bad guy. I think it's cool he's marveling at the power behind the weaponry, but
I wasn't sure about this thing at first, but
Damn.
I wish he made the weaponry himself, personally. And also didn't just do a 5-second of him swinging the gauntlet to show he's trained and now he knows how to use it. That just felt so forced and it didn't even need to be there. I personally wouldn't mind seeing him show up again and getting more fleshed out. Reoccurring villains are fun and he's not a horrendous adaptation. He just really didn't do anything. He needs to do more. They should bring him back if anything. All in all, the current Shocker we read just never got adapted. The goofball, goober we all love, he hasn't been done yet. Insomniac might have been close, the cartoons weren't, and MCU maybe does it in the future, but as of now, if you want to see this goon, you're going to have to pick up a comic and wait for the one day he gets a great adaptation. Sony, let me direct a Shocker movie. I'm telling you, it'll print money. Dunk out. Peace!